Hello world. So today we're doing a goodbye review of the BMW G310GS. Goodbye simply because it's leaving my garage, it's leaving my ownership, and I wanted to do a review because many people don't understand this bike or they're not familiar with this bike, and this bike is not leaving because I'm unhappy with it. It's far from the truth. It's just I have a tendency to swap bikes on a regular basis, and so when one is being fully used and appreciated, then I move on to another type of bike or another bike. So let's begin. To clear confusion, let's make this something that's known from the outset. It is a BMW bike. It is manufactured under license by TVS in India, but TVS is not a small company. I think last time I looked it was a 1.7 billion dollar company, so it's no small fry, and it's built under the keen scrutiny of BMW. In all honesty, though BMW would not admit this, I'm sure, this was their first attempt at a under 500cc motorcycle, and sometimes maybe distancing themselves from this bike by saying it's made under contract in another country, they still retain the integrity of the BMW that is produced in Germany. But this bike doesn't fall short in any way. The bike feels very light and is extremely nimble and maneuverable, though it still sits at a smiling 170 kilograms wet weight. And I say that because some bikes are heavy and when you ride them you feel the weight. With this one, 170 isn't a light bike, but it looks aesthetically very big, but it rides like as if it's probably under 120 kilograms. So that's always a good thing. Top speed is quoted at 88 miles per hour, which translates to 143 kilometers per hour. Now, all I'm going to say here is wink, wink. The truth is this bike can do a little more, but when it does do more, you know you are pushing it to its extreme limits. But knowing that most motorways or highways have a speed limit of 100 kilometers per hour, which is 62 miles an hour, to 70, this is more than adequate to take on all types of roads. Often you find with single cylinder engines, they do feel light and maneuverable. In terms of suspension, both front and rear is extremely soft, but soft to the point where you feel that the bike is an adventure bike. It's not a street bike which is hard on the tarmac, or when you go over a bump or a pothole you feel it go through your spine. No, in this one you actually don't feel that. Yet with the suspension being as soft as it is, when you go around bends you still feel that you're in control. There is at no point do you feel that you're losing any control whatsoever. Per the brochure, it states that there's a permitted weight of 348 kilograms, which means that you could have two people at 90 kilograms sitting on the bike. This is not true or fair on the bike. I think if you did have a pillion passenger, both pillion and your weight should not really exceed 150 kilograms. On top of that, when we discuss the fuel tank, it's 11 liters with a liter for the reserve. It does surprisingly great on average. It's doing about 18 to 20 miles per liter, so that's fair going. On a small bike you fill up the tank, and even though the tank is small you get a great range out of it. When you look around the bike you kind of look and notice that they haven't really saved money. They haven't scrimped on quality. The swing arm is aluminium die cast, so they've tried to reduce the weight of the bike. The finish is excellent, and what they've done is they've created a tank with fairings, but these aren't motorcycle fairings, these are sort of adventure bike fairings, that makes the bike look way bigger than its 313 cubic capacity. So when you look at it when it's going past, especially if you have panniers or a top box, the bike does look as though it's a 600 or an 800 GS rather than a 310. And that is important because sometimes people don't want to ride something that looks small or potentially is deemed the weaker of all the bikes. Another benefit that the G310GS has is that because it is directed more at the Asian market, they have made so many accessories. It feels like it's an infinite amount of accessories, which allows you to make this bike so much your own. So that's always a good thing to have. No shortage of parts, no shortage of accessories, no shortage of anything really. And when you add certain accessories, the bike really changes shape in comparison to when you look at it from its stock position. So in concluding on the positives, I would say this is a head turner. It is something that if you own, you will feel pride. You will feel that the bike is not just any old bike, but it truly is a BMW, deserving of the BMW badge, and it feels like a BMW, and you will feel that you have not made the wrong decision in any way, shape or form. Now for the bad points, and there are only two. One, the engine sounds a little tinny. I see this often with Chinese bikes, but it could be because it's a single cylinder engine, and I think that would be easily rectified if you took the stock exhaust and you put an exhaust that gave it more of a grunt, and that would, I think, camouflage the engine sound. Number two, if you're looking for something with great torque in all the gears, this is not the bike. I find that when you're overtaking at the higher speed, it really has a problem. But the one good side to this is that you really do hone in on your skills of overtaking with a bike that doesn't have power, but rather you overtake through your skill. So it's not always a bad point, there is a positive to it. And that's basically it. I hope you've enjoyed the review. This is a goodbye review because now, sadly, this bike is no longer mine.